بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. We ask Allah to bestow His never-ending blessings and rewards to our patient one, and Zahra, peace and blessings be upon her. We express our gratitude and thankfulness to His Eminence Sheikh Nami Farhat Al-Amili for hosting this activity here today. We also would like to thank you all for attending this event, Hilal Faطمية, which is an annual event in which the opening of the Fatimiyya season occurs. There are many statements in regards to the martyrdom of Al-Zahra, peace be upon her, from 28 Rabi' al-Awwal to 18 Jamadi al-Ula, which will include the occasions of joy and sorrow. These events will be held in a series of continuous nights by the contributions of all Shia Islamic centers, preachers, religious scholars, and the communities that unite together under the name of the Fatimiyya season, in order to present a set of knowledge and topics that are related to the Fatimiyya sermon in many ways alongside the Fatimiyya pulpit. A group of individuals under the name of the Committee of the Season is taking the responsibility to coordinate and submit proposals to encourage our brothers in faith to adhere to this great heritage, which was prepared for us by Zahra and her father and her husband and her progeny, to the Imam of our time, Ajjallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. Therefore, we hope this year that you will be with us to support us to move forward and to please gratify our Almighty God and the Imam of our time in order to receive their intercession. And now we welcome His Eminence Sheikh Nami Farhat in the opening of the Fatimiyya night, and we will conclude the opening with a Latmiya by Brother Hussein al-Husseini. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وأهل الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
عظم الله أجوركم جميعا بمناسبة ذكرى استشهاد السيدة الزهراء عليها السلام. وأهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا، وجزا الله الإخوة خيرا على ما يقومون به. The topic that I was asked to speak about, or the question that I was asked to answer, is why do we have different dates for the martyrdom anniversary of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam? As you know, the Shia, they commemorate 3 events for the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. The first event, that is called Al-Fatimiyya al-Ula, is based on the narration that Fatimah Zahra alayhi salam, she passed away after the martyrdom of Rasulullah in 40 days, after 40 days of his martyrdom. This is what they call Al-Fatimiyya al-Ula. Then Al-Fatimiyya al-Thaniya is based on the narration that she passed away 75 days after the martyrdom of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the third Fatimiyya, Al-Fatimiyya al-Thalitha, is based on the narration that she passed away alayhi salam 95 days after the martyrdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have 3 events. This is one of the questions. Why do we have more than one event, or more than one day for her martyrdom? Now the truth is, and the Sayyid, he mentioned this to me before we started the program, although it is commonly accepted between the Shia that we have 3 events, but if we refer back to our books, you will find that we have 21 views based on 615 different sources that speak about the dates of the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. 21 views, not only 3. 21 views, or 21 different dates based on 615 different sources. So it's more than only 3 nights. And this is also one of the questions that I was asked today by one of the brothers. He said the first Fatimiyya is not this week. So why are you commemorating the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam this week? Although it is not based on the three events that are commonly known, but it is based on one of the first date from the 21 views that we have in our books. And our respected Maraja, they make sure to commemorate or to start commemorating the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam from this week. The leader of the Hawza in Qom, Sheikh Ayatullah al-Udma, Sheikh Wahid al-Khurasani, may Allah prolong his life, he emphasized on the importance of commemorating the martyrdom in this week, to start from this week. All right, why do we have different days? So we don't have 3 nights, we have 21 nights. 21 nights. Why? The first thing we can say, having different dates about the martyrdom or the birth of the infallibles is not limited to Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. If you refer back, you'll find that there are different dates about the birth and the death or the martyrdom of most of our Imams alayhi salam, not only Sayyidah Zahra. This is due to the oppression that took place on the Shia. Because as you know, history is written by those in power, by the winners. So the Shia, they didn't have a chance to write down everything that they went through in history. Okay. Also, people back then in the past, they never used to concentrate on putting down the exact date of birth of every single one, even the important people. Not like we concentrate on it today. Back then, they didn't used to concentrate on it. And this is not limited to the Islamic history. Even in history in general, you will find that there's different views about the date of birth of the important personalities. Not in history, even today, you'll find that some people, there's a problem about the date of their birth. People who are still alive today, there's a problem, there's different views about their date of birth. For example, Samahat Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah, may Allah prolong his life, this is an example. They celebrate his birth every 2 months. Every 2 months they say this is the birth anniversary of Sayyid Hassan, and he's still alive. How about personalities that lived 1,000 years ago? So this is something normal. This is something normal. Because some people, I mentioned this, because some people, they try to create a doubt in the hearts of the believers due to the different views that we have about the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. They said because we have different views, that shows that the oppression didn't take place against Sayyidah Zahra. Because they didn't agree on one view. And they say, is it possible for the Imams alayhim salam to contradict each other in mentioning the dates? One Imam, he says on this night. Another Imam says on a different night. Is it possible to have a contradiction between the views of the Imam? All right. So the contradiction is not in the words of the Imams alayhim salam. The contradiction is in the words of the narrators. And this is due to what we mentioned, the books that were burnt and the oppression that took place on the Shia. And we look at the different dates, the 21 views, not the 3 nights, the 21 views that starts from this week. We look at it as an evidence to prove the oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra, and not as something that we use to weaken the oppression. This is a strength, something that you can use to prove the oppression. How? In history, we accept ash-shuhra as an evidence, something that is accepted or commonly accepted by the scholars is considered an evidence in history. Ash-shuhra, dalil, is an evidence in history. So even if a narration is weak, a chain of a narration is weak, but when it becomes commonly accepted or known in history, you can consider this narration to be authentic due to the shuhra that you have. This is a principle that all the scholars, all our scholars and maraja accept. They all accept it. Ash-shuhra al-tarikhiyya is an evidence that we follow. When you have different views about one incident, 21 views from 615 different sources, this we can call it tawatur. Tawatur, now either it's lafzi or ma'nawi. I haven't personally checked the different narrations to tell you whether it's tawatur lafzi or ma'nawi, but what I have in my mind that it is tawatur ma'nawi, the different sources that we have. And this is an evidence. So tawatur and the shuhra also. Another thing that you can use to prove this oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, other than at-tawatur and other than al-shuhra, is al-ijma'. Al-ijma', what is ijma' in English? Anyone knows?
Consensus?
Ahsan, واسمي حاج Sheikh Ali. Ahsan, mashallah. Al-ijma' is an evidence that you can prove through a certain incident. And this is something that all the scholars accept. Alright. The oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam is something that all the Shia scholars accept. You don't find one Shia scholar who deny the oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. None. And when I say no scholar, I mean it, that there's no scholar. Whether we agree or disagree with them, there's no scholar. Yes, you find some people who deny certain details that happened or took place, but the oppression in itself is something that no one questions from our scholars. And this is something important that we can build on it. And mashallah, whether we have here two groups, Hilal, Faطمية, and also Islam Hub, and we have mashallah one of our respected scholars with us, and mashallah Sayyid Mahmoud is the leader of the leaders here. So we all have a responsibility in spreading the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, inviting people towards the Ahlul Bayt. This ijma' that we're speaking about the oppression of Sayyidah Zahra, can be a base that we can build on, or a strong foundation that we can build on. Because even if you speak to anyone from the Shia, no one will deny this oppression that took place. So start from there. I advise myself and the respected brothers, when we want to speak about the oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, or when we want to speak about the lives of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam in general, let us be wise. Let us be wise in speaking. Let us be wise in preaching. And let us be wise in inviting people towards Islam and towards the religion of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. You have to invite to the path of Allah, to the religion of Allah, through wisdom and through saying good words. Also, follow the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it comes to dealing with people or with implementing the religious rulings, he used to implement the rulings gradually, slowly, in order not to put his community under pressure. So don't put your community or people under pressure, and start from somewhere that you can connect with the other side with. When you want to speak to someone, when you want to deal with someone, don't look at the things that you disagree with him. Look at the things that you can agree with him in. Some people are very negative. They always look at the negative things, and they don't concentrate on the positive things. So look at the positive things, connect, and then try to change slowly with the other one. So, for example, if you find someone who denies certain incidents that took place in history, or certain details in the oppression that took place on Sayyidah Zahra. Don't start attacking. Don't start attacking. This is not something good to do. What you should do is to agree with him on the oppression itself. Agree on the oppression itself and slowly work on changing them. This would be better than just attacking and letting them stay in their misguidance. This is what we learn from the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what we learn from the path of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and even from the path of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. They all follow the same thing. I haven't finished to say Hassan. I have to continue. Usually with these type of gatherings, I intentionally don't prepare anything to say. And inshallah, if we are speaking for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we have a sincere intention, Allah will guide us to what to say, inshallah. So this is about the first question. Why do we have different dates about the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam? To add to it, we say it's not hard to find out the most or the strongest date of her martyrdom. It's not hard. If you study history, you can find out which narration is the strongest from them. But our scholars, they left at least the 3 nights, the 3 events for a reason. They didn't say commemorate just one night. They said at least do the 3 nights. And alhamdulillah, now with the help of the Sayyid is doing the 21 inshallah events. There's a reason for that. The reason is to keep the message of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam alive. To keep the message of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam alive. Because the message of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam is the center of Islam. It's the center of religion. For this religion to be protected and for us to stay on the straight path, we need to keep the message of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam alive. As it is mentioned in the narrations from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, وَعَلَى مَعْرِفَتِهَا دَارَتِ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى. And even the early centuries or the early days of existence, they turn or they circle around the reality of Fatimah Zahra alayhi salam. And no prophet would have received his prophethood if it's not for Fatima alayhi salam. This is mentioned in the narrations from our Imams alayhi salam. وَعَلَى مَعْرِفَتِهَا دَارَتِ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى. When you keep the message of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam alive, you're keeping religion alive. But not just by remembering the oppression that took place on her, but also by learning from the lessons that she gave us. See, one of the problems that we have, some people, they concentrate on the emotional side only. Although the emotional side is very important, but it's not enough. And at the same time, you have other groups who only concentrate on the educational side. And also there's a problem in that. You don't want to turn the gatherings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to a workshop or to a conference where you come sit down and you give a talk and that's it. This is not enough. You can't keep the message alive without the emotional side. It's impossible. You need to balance. As we say in Arabic, abra wa abra. There has to be an emotional side, and also you need to find someone to teach you about the lives of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and how to implement the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt in our days. So inshallah, وعلى معرفتها, that was the last hadith, وعلى معرفتها دارت القرون الأولى. And then in another hadith, the Imam, he says, no prophet would have received his prophethood if it was not for Fatima alayhi salam. When you look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, you find that he showed special respect for Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. And this respect that he showed is not due to the emotional side of her being his daughter only. It's not just because she was his daughter. The respect is due to the status of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. The status of وَعَلَى مَعْرِفَتِهَا دَارَتِ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى. The status of no prophet would have received his prophethood if it was not for Fatima. This is why he used to show respect. For example, I'll give you an example. One of the traditions for the Arabs is that if they are sitting down in a gathering, they don't stand up for everyone who comes in. Okay? Because they used to sit on the ground. So it's not from the traditions to stand up when someone comes, except if your teacher or your father comes in, then you stand up for them. But if anyone comes, he says, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, fadla, sit down. So there's no standing up, shaking hand, kissing, and all that stuff. There's nothing from it. Shaking hands is good, but not when you're sitting down in a gathering, because it's not something easy to stand up every 2 minutes and sit down, especially if you're sitting on the ground. So only you stand for someone who is your teacher or your father. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to sit down, anyone who comes in, he used to say, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, that's it. Except when Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam used to come. They narrate, even in Sunni sources, that when he used to hear Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam coming, he used to run towards the door. Sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He used to run towards the door. And he used to smell the neck of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. When one of his wives asked him, why do you do this? He says, أَشُمُّ فِيهَا رَائِحَةَ الْجَنَّةِ. I can smell paradise when I get near Fatima alayhi salam. Because as you know, one of the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi, he says, Fatima hawra'u insiyya. Fatima is a heavenly creature and a human being. Fatima hawra'u insiyya. So she's a heavenly creature. When he used to get near Fatima alayhi salam, he used to smell paradise. Hawra'u insiyya. They said to him, Alaysat insiyya, isn't she a human being? He said, Fatima hawra'u insiyya. Not only a human being, she's a heavenly creature. This is not something that the extremists believe in. No, this is something that is commonly accepted between our scholars, between the scholars who study the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, not those who don't know anything about the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt. Those who study the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt, they know this reality about Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. They know that the Prophet, he reached the highest level in order to receive Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. Go back, read the books of the late Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi and other scholars. This is what they mention in their books about the reality of Fatima alayhi salam, about what they were able to understand from the reality of Fatima, because the complete reality is something that we cannot comprehend. And this is what one of the reasons behind her name, Fatima. Fatima al-khalqu an ma'rifatiha. They can't reach the reality of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. The Prophet he used to kiss the neck of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, and then he used to kiss the hand of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. And as we know, one of the narrations, or one of the verses in the Quran, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So everything that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything he does, everything that he did was a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't do anything that contradicts with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So think about it, when he kisses the hands of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, is this an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or no? Is this an order from Allah to kiss the hand of Fatima alayhi salam or no? This is what. Think about it and or reflect on it. Fatima حوراء إنسية. And also it is narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, when he used to go past the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, he used to stand next to the door. And they mention, I've heard it from some scholars, some of our maraja, but I haven't read it. They said the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he used to kiss the door of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. This is all some signs for the Muslims. And he used to stand and say, Assalamu alaikum ya ahl ad-dar ata'dhanuna li bid-dukhul. Do you give me permission to enter to the house? Said Zahra alayhi salam, she used to come and say to him, you are my father. This house is yours. Why do you ask for permission to enter my house? He used to say to her, Inna Allah amarani an asta'dhina 'inda babi Fatima. Allah, He orders me to ask permission in front of the door of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And look what the Muslims after him did to this door and did to his daughter Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha. Even when they come and argue whether they burned the house or didn't burn the house, only to threaten, only if you threaten to stand against Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, this in itself is a sin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place the one who did it in hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها أن يعجل الفرج لولينا ولإمامنا وأن يجعلنا من أتباعه ومن أنصاره ومن المستشهدين بين يديه بحق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصاب الزهراء سلام الله علينا، المصاب الجلل الذي عم على أهل البيت وعلى شيعة أهل البيت. نعزي صاحب العصر والزمان بهذا المصاب العظيم، وكذلك نعزي جموع الأمة الإسلامية وبالخصوص شيعة أهل البيت عليهم أفضل الصلاة والسلام بهذا المصاب الجلل. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب مظلوم كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم، بل خاب من شكك في فضائلكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما إن شاء الله من الفائزين جميعا. مصائبكم شتى وشتى قبوركم، ورزقكم منه الفؤاد تصدعا. مصائب أهل البيت مصائب جمة كثيرة، وقبورهم مشتتة في خراسان وفي طيبة وفي الغري وفي بغداد وفي سامراء. مصائبكم شتى وشتى قبوركم، ورزقكم منه الفؤاد تصدعا. وأعظم رزء حل بالطهر فاطمي، له الكون من ثقل المصاب تزعزع. هنا الشاعر يقارن بين مصاب الزهراء سلام الله عليها ومصاب الحسين، وهنا يشوف الموالي شنو يشوف. ياهو اللي أفجع من هذا المصاب. أحد العلماء ذكرت له هذه القصيدة في مشهد، قال إن مصاب الزهراء أعظم من مصاب الحسين، لأنها ابنة رسول الله، وقد هتكوا حجابها، هتكوا سترها، عصروها. وأعظم منه رزق سبط محمد، أعظم من مصاب الزهراء. يقول الشاعر: وأعظم منه رزق سبط محمد، غدا في الطف شلوا موزعا، لئن هشموا ضلعا من الطهر واحد، فهذا حسين هشموا منه أضلعا، وإن أثر البسمار في جنب جسمها، وإن أثر المسمار في جنب جسمها، فجسم حسين بالسيوف توزع، وإن أحرقوا بيت